everyone, this is Terry at terryscraftroom.com. Today we're going to make this 3D box. So I have this wonderful neighbor that helped dig my car out of a snowbank the other day. And so I'm going to take her some cookies. And so I wanted to make a little cute little box that says "You're so special" to thank her, and I'm going to put these cookies in them. So I'm going to show you how to make this box. Let's get started. Put the cookies aside. What we need is one piece of cardstock that's 8 1/4 by 11. Let's get our scoreboard out. And we are going to score it at 1 1/2, 5, 6 1/2, and 10. And that's along the 11-inch side. And then we're going to turn it so that the 10-inch score is up, so you have just an inch here instead of 1.5 inches down here. Okay? So this is that 10-inch score line, so we turned it counterclockwise, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch only down to the second score line. We're going to score at 1.5 inches all the way down. We're going to score at 6 3/8 of an inch all the way down. And we're going to score at, I'm sorry, that's 6 3/4 of an inch, not 6 3/8. 6 3/4 of an inch all the way down. And then 7 3/4 to the second score line. And that's all the scoring we need. Okay. So these two score lines that we only scored to the second score line, those are just guides, because we're going to cut this. Let's see here. So we're going to cut this. If I have any. We're going to cut this piece and this piece away. And the same thing with this piece and this piece. See that? But you want to make sure you get a really straight cut, because these are going to be exposed edges. So that's why I'm using a long pair of scissors rather than my snips. Okay? And let's just cut that away so we don't have it in our way. Now, since these are a straight cut, I'm going to cut on this side of the score line. So I'm cutting away the score line so you're not going to see my score line. And I didn't cut that very well because you can see my score line, so I'm going to recut that a little bit so that it, and clean that up a little bit. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to cut my tabs this way for the top of my box. And remember, this piece here is a straight cut. So I'm cutting on this side of the score line. And then I'm going to miter here and miter here to make a tab. So I did that on both tabs. Okay, so now for the rest of this part, we're going to do the same thing on both sides. So I'm going to cut up to the first score line, and then I'm going to miter this tab. I'm going to cut straight up to this score line, but this is the straight cut. So I'm going to cut on this side of the score line, so I'm cutting away my score line. And then I'm going to miter the tab, just like that. I'm going to do the same thing on this one, but I'm cutting on this side of the score line. And the reason that is it just makes it lay better if the score line is gone. Okay, so this is what one whole side looks like. Now we're going to make this side look the same. The last thing on this side we need to do is we're going to angle this tab so that it looks nice, just to give it a nice look. Okay, so now we're going to just mirror this side over here. So we're going to cut up. Let's cut our angle. And then we're going to miter this tab, cut straight, and then we're going to cut on this side of the score line to cut straight, miter, and miter. And there is our box. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we want to cut a hole in our box so that we can have a window. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold and burnish all my score lines so I can see where everything is. And I'm not confused as to where the inside and the outside of my box is, because that becomes important when we put our window in. Okay, so we're going to take this away for a minute and excuse my well-loved mat here. Okay, so I have cut a piece of chipboard out the size that I want my window, and I'm going to just take it and set it, and I've got a couple of removable glue dots on here. They're not permanent. I'm just going to set it on here where I want my window to be. Just like that. And I'm going to take my finger blade and I'm going to cut out my window using this chipboard as my guide. I'm telling you, I never used to use X-Acto knives because I couldn't control them, but when I got one of these finger blades, I got much more control over them. And there we go. And then all I have to do is peel this off my removable, and I can use this again. Okay, so there's my hole. So I want to turn it on the inside. And then I'm going to I have a piece of window sheet here. And it doesn't have to be a real strong window sheet. This is a pretty flimsy one. I just need it to not be dirty. There. It's always good to use your clothes, right? And I'm going to glue that down. Let's bring I'm going to glue that down right here on the inside. And let's see, I didn't tell you the size of my window sheet. My window sheet is about 4 3/8 by about 3. I just made it big enough so that it'll cover, I know it'll cover my hole. And my hole is 3 1/4 by 2 1/8. And don't worry if you didn't catch or you don't catch all these measurements, that's okay. I will have this posted on my blog, and you can go over to my blog at terryscraftroom.com and get all the information over there. And while you're over there, sign up for my weekly newsletter, because I send out exclusive projects, tips and tricks every week that you won't find on my blog or on YouTube or anywhere else. So that's a good thing too. So all we're doing is we're taking our tabs and we're bending them up into a 90-degree angle and gluing them into the corners of my box. And then just to make sure it's nice and secure, I give it a good rub with my bone folder. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with these middle ones. Okay. And now with the top ones, it's a real easy box once you have the dimensions. And it only takes one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Now, to make sure that the top closes over the bottom, I always close it, push the tabs in, and then put the top down just like this. And then I'll very carefully open it and then squeeze your tabs. But that way when you close the box, you know it will close over your top, over your bottom. Okay, so there's our basic box. Now what I'm going to do is I took from the Tasteful Touches stamp set, I took this flower, stamped it, and colored it with the my blends, and I used the You Are So Special and this die to stamp out You Are So Special and punch it out, or cut it out. We need some leaves, so I've got a scrap piece of DSP that I have been saving for just this occasion. Anytime I have a piece of green designer series paper, I always save it, no matter, you know, if it's even this small, because you never know if you need a leaf or a sprig or what have you. And there's 2 sprigs out of this little piece of paper. We need a 3rd one though. See if I have a, and here's another little piece of paper that will be perfect for a 3rd sprig. There we go. Oh, and we need our circle punch, and we need to punch out a circle. This is our 2 1/4 inch circle punch. It's retired, and so is the sprig punch, but I still use them all the time. If you didn't have the sprig punch, you could cut out any leaf. So then I'm going to place the flower onto the circle. I'm going to use a little bit of Wink of Stella on the flower to give it a little bling, a little pizzazz. just like that. I don't know if you'll be able to see the bling. Trust me, there's bling on it. Okay, so we're going to put some dimensionals on these. And I'm going to speed up the camera so you don't have to watch all this. And there we go. There's our box. All nice and neat. And then I can bring my cookies back in. Put my cookies in. And take that over to my neighbors. I hope you've enjoyed today's project. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you can help me build my channel. Have a wonderful day, and bye everybody.